Hey everybody, it's Triple J, and welcome back to another tutorial video here in City Skylines. You might notice the audio quality is a little bit different in this video versus the last ones, and that would be because we got a major upgrade in our audio equipment. So moving forward, these videos and all of our Twitch streams should sound a lot better. Now, this is actually the first video I am recording. Is that plane diving straight into the ground? Okay, it looked like it. This is actually the first video I have recorded with the new setup, and so I'm very excited about all this because I think it's just going to greatly improve everything. But what I'm more excited about is showing you the final mod tutorial video before we move our Vanilla Valley into the modded setup and we start that playthrough. I had intended to get this started a lot sooner, but moving into the new house and constantly working on getting all of that stuff set up has sort of taken up so much of my time when I'm not streaming. And so, but here we are, and let's dive right into this thing. So this final modded video, or final mod tutorial video, I guess I should say, is going to be about 5 simple detail mods that you can use in your city that I like to use. So let's get started. The first one is going to be more beautification, and the more beautification mod is very helpful. It has become arguably slightly less necessary since Park Life came out, because if you remember in Park Life, you can go to, and inside of the parks that you can create, there are just assets that you can plop down, right? Like anywhere, specific types of assets that you can use, like little signs or different types of picnic tables, chess tables, garbage cans, things like this, right? But before all of this, More Beautification, and More Beautification still has some great assets to it. And so what it is, if you go into the landscaping and disasters tab, so you used to have up until the disasters, but what extra landscaping tools does is it adds in basically every other asset that exists in your city as a ploppable asset. So you can plop down billboards and signs, you can plop down commercial logos. There's an industrial tab which gives you boxes and crates and different things you can plop. Then of course there's a park asset. You could build your own swing sets. These are all from like the park assets that come in the game. And additionally, any other assets or mods that you add should add in 2 extra landscaping tools, the different assets that come with them, so you can access pretty much anything from the game. It's really cool, and there's just some awesome things you can do with things. I mean, like some of these, this is like, what is this? This is a frame. I think this is like a frame of a billboard, perhaps? I don't know, but you can create some really cool things using these things. You can put down a solar panel field if you wanted to. I don't know, lots of different, it really is a very cool and quite necessary detail tool from my perspective. And even though Park Life has added some of these things into the game that you can plop down yourself, there's just such a plethora of them inside of extra landscaping tools that I think it's very cool. You can even put down some lights and different things like ground lights, and it's really incredible what you can do with this mod. Now, on top of that kind of leads right into the second mod, because what you might be asking yourself is, okay, so let's say I want to put down certain assets, but let's say I want to line, I don't know, let's say I want to line this parkway with, I don't know, some of these little like planter boxes. Okay, well, I can't do that because I don't have that option. I can't, it's nice to have these, but I can put them outside, but I can't, attach them to maybe some things I might want to. Well, that brings us to prop and tree anarchy. If you notice down here, you can see prop and tree anarchy off. Okay, if you hit Shift P, let me move my cursor here. If you hit Shift P, now you'll notice that is on. That is how you toggle it on and off. Shift P. Okay. So you toggle it off, can't do it. Toggle it on, boom. Now, it basically is like road anarchy, with props. So now I can plop props anywhere I wanted to. So if I really wanted to put some flower boxes along here, I certainly could. Just like that. Or anything, right? I could put a merry-go-round in the middle of this if I wanted to. Now, obviously, that's a little silly, but it allows you to build things really, on top of other assets as you go. So let's say, okay, so here in my recycling center, right? Maybe I want some more boxes and different things like that. Well, now you have the option to plop down things. If you hold right-click, you can spin the asset in any direction you want. Maybe I want some boxes right there. It's a really, really cool tool, and you can really start designing some of your assets to look very unique, and you can start designing areas very, very specifically, and go down the rabbit hole of detailing. This is the start of the rabbit hole of detailing. It can be a very dark place, and all of a sudden you find that you've been sitting here for 4 hours detailing one city block. But if that tickles your fancy, these two are absolutely necessary, and I think they're very, very good mods. I mean, Prop and Tree Anarchy for sure is great, but more Beautification is also fantastic. The next mod that can be very helpful when detailing and landscaping is the Prop Line tool. It can be a huge, huge time saver. And what the Prop Line tool does is essentially kind of makes a line of the props. And how that works is under the landscaping tools, let's say I want to create a line of trees lining this off-ramp, right? Or this on-ramp to get onto the highway. So before I could say, okay, well, I want these to all be equidistant, or, maybe I want to make them, I don't know. Maybe I want to make them some cool apple trees or something that line here. Okay, well, I could try and line them all up and make sure the angle's right and off by hand, or I could make sure that they are all the same distance and go to Prop Line tool. So if I want to, so now this is curved just a little bit, so I'm going to take the curve tool, okay? And that opens up this toggles this menu, okay? This is like a control panel for Prop Line tool. And what this does is each different asset you click on will change the spacing. So this shows you how many meters apart each one will be as you pull the line through, okay? And so basically what it does is, let's say I want to take this tool, you'll now see this sort of an icon. Now what it'll do, and just like a road or a path, it will show the dotted lines for a curve, and then all you do is just curve it along, and it'll show you those yellow circles. Even with Prop and Tree Anarchy on, those yellow circles will tell you that it's not going to plop one of those down. It's gonna, so see how it gets too close and then it doesn't do that? So just make sure you're a little further apart, and you can plop down trees, and they are now all 12.62 meters apart. Now what I could do is I could change that, and I could say I want them to be 5 meters apart. I want them to be much, much closer, okay? And I could drop them down. All you do is click, left click, get your thing. You don't have to hold left click. You just draw it out to the angle you want it to draw it out on, and then you left click it right back. Just like that. This can be very handy, mostly when doing trees or hedges or any sort of bushes. You can also use it, you can use it with really almost any asset. Okay, along with extra landscaping tools, inside of this is another mod I like to use. It's called Theme Decals. Now there are two different mods that sort of do very similar things. There's Surface Painter, and then there's Themed Decals. I like Surface Painter. Basically what it does is it allows you to pick any surface like gravel or concrete or grass, and you can paint it. But I like to use the Theme Decals. It's really a matter of preference, but there's certain things that each can do pretty well. So inside of the extra landscaping tools, under the ground tiles, if you scroll over, it adds in a bunch of different things, different decals, and here they are. They are grass, and they give you different sizes, 30 by 2 by 32 or 16 by 16. Grass, cliff, sand, gravel, ruined, oil, and then like pavement and different things like that, right? So if I wanted to create, I gotta get a prop line here. It just gives you the opportunity to maybe add in some just different details, to blend concrete with grass, You can plop all of those down and you can delete them as you wish. You can even, say, well, I want some sand right here. It's really nice. What I like about the themed decals is that it's just nice for small little areas that just don't look quite right. Because sometimes when the gravel roads line up with something that is concreted, it just doesn't look quite right. But if you were to just take the theme decals and use the gravel to kind of blend with it a little bit, now you kind of have a different, now it just sort of looks like they are a little more cohesive. And you can futz with them in many different ways and do different things. Surface Painter is very similar, and that is totally an acceptable thing. But I think if I was to pick one or the other, I think I would pick the themed decals because it feels like there's a little bit more placement involved, and that allows you a little bit more flexibility in certain areas. But that's just me. But Surface Painter is also a fantastic one. But if I'm going to pick one, I'm going to use the themed decals because they can come in very handy when you're just trying to fix a little bit of an area that might just seem, a little bit off, and you can kind of muddy the textures together a little bit, and that oftentimes is very, very helpful. Number 5, and this is a newer one for me, and one that I am so much in love with. It is called the Forest Brush. Forest Brush is indicated right here, just to the right of your policies button. Forest Brush allows you to save and create different types of tree brushes using trees that you have. So you can select trees, assets off of the workshop. You can just use the ones that are in game. It doesn't matter. But what it allows you to do is create basically like a palette of different kinds of brushes. So these are some brushes that I'm using currently in some of our streams over on Twitch. And so like I have a Pine Woods brush, okay? And what that does is I have some I don't know why it's Pine Woods. It's just, I don't see any pine trees there. I don't know why I call it that, but generic trees. I have some fall colored trees in there. And what else you can do with it is you can create as many new brushes as you want. And add a new brush here. You can name it whatever you want. But basically what you do is you go down and scroll through the tree assets that you have, trees and bushes, and you can select, let's say I'm going to create a new one here. And I'm going to say I want some bushes in it. And you can also say how many you want to see in each. Let's say I want, I don't know, half of the other kinds of trees I want to see there. I also want a conifer, and I want a flower tree. I don't know, I'm just kind of picking trees at random here, and live oak tree. And you can also say, you can choose auto density, but I like to uncheck that, and you can slide how dense you want it to be, the strength of the brush, and then the size of it as well. You can also change the shape of it to be a little bit more scattered instead of just the circle. So you can really, it just gives you so many options. So now if I click, it's going to put down the flower trees, half of the bushes as you would normally see, and some of the other trees that we put inside of the tree brush. It is absolutely fantastic. You can make it as sparse or as wide as you want it. Let's say I wanted the density to be almost nothing. Okay? Really, really sparse. Or I want the density to be like full, right? And it's going to really, really thicken it up. And it just is so flexible. There's so many different options you can have. The ability to save different types of brushes can really save you a ton of time when trying to fill in certain areas. It is really incredible. And if you want to get rid of some of the trees, you can just right click and drag, and that will get rid of any of the trees that you have planted. And again, you can change the size of the brush. It really is a wonderful tool, and especially when trying to fill in some areas, because trees are magical and they are so good for making areas just feel a little bit more full. This tool is phenomenal. So my friends, that is going to do it. Thank you all for watching. Again, this has been 5 detail mods that I personally like to use that I think are very, very valuable when starting out detailing. There are so many more detailing mods in the workshop. Many more advanced ones as well. Let me know what some of your favorites are. I would love to hear about it. And thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode, which will be the very first modded episode of Vanilla Valley, which we're going to have to call something else now, and so I'll have to figure that out. But everybody, thank you again. I hope you learned something. I hope this helped in some way, and happy building, and I will see you in the next episode of City Skylines. Bye, everybody.